Welcome to this explainer. You know, we check our bank apps every single day, right? We track our wealth on glowing digital screens, and we kind of just accept this vast, invisible network of numbers. But the physical cash sitting in your pocket right now, it undergoes an absolutely incredible engineering process that most people never ever get to see. So today, we're going to explore that intense physical craftsmanship and then completely flip the script to contrast it with the wild dynamic reality of how modern digital money is actually created. Okay, let's just dive right in. Quick question for you. What is the money in your wallet actually made of? It's so easy to dismiss a dollar bill as just a piece of paper. But think about the physical demands of being passed around in the real world. Standard wood pulp, like what you'd find in your kid's notebook, a coffee shop receipt, or printer paper, simply wouldn't survive the everyday economic stress test. The foundation of U.S. currency is actually a super precise blend, 75% cotton and 25% linen. So, crazy enough, the money in your wallet literally has more in common with your favorite pair of denim jeans than it does with regular office paper. And this highly controlled fabric is manufactured by just one single company, Crane& Company, who've held the exclusive contract since way back in 1879. This exact blend is what gives a banknote that crisp, flexible texture, allowing it to miraculously survive a trip through your washing machine. Oh, and it also contains tiny red and blue synthetic fibers woven right into the fabric. Not printed on, mind you, but embedded directly into the material as a security measure that actually dates all the way back to the Civil War. It's really fascinating to think about the insane durability this blend achieves. It takes about 4,000 double folds, literally folding the bill forwards and backwards over and over before a single note actually tears. 4,000. That is a massive testament to its engineering, especially when you consider that a single banknote weighs only 1 single gram. But you know, the material itself is really just the blank canvas. The real magic happens over at the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, and it starts with intense, painstaking human skill. Even in our highly digital age, the portraits and details on your cash are carved by master engravers using magnifying lenses and tiny steel tools. The level of detail here is so staggering that an engraver actually trains for 10 to 12 years before they are trusted to carve a full portrait, like Benjamin Franklin, into a metal printing plate. They're carving these microscopic lines, shadows, and unique tiny imperfections that a human hand can create, but a counterfeiter's digital scanner simply cannot replicate. Moving right along, let's see how this builds. Once those plates are engraved, the manufacturing scales up through 3 distinct printing phases. First up is offset printing. We're talking massive presses the size of a bus, printing these really subtle, overlapping pastel backgrounds, the greens, blues, pinks, and yellows. This is specifically designed to mess with basic black and white or standard color photocopiers. Next comes intaglio printing, which gives the money its iconic texture. And finally, letterpress printing is used to stamp on the unique green serial numbers and those official Treasury and Federal Reserve seals. Actually, I want to pause on that middle step for a second, the intaglio printing, because the engineering here is just spectacular. During this phase, the paper collides with the engraved metal plates under an absolutely mind-boggling 20 tons of pressure. To put that into perspective, that is the equivalent weight of 6 full-grown hippos standing on a single dollar bill. No joke. This extreme pressure is absolutely crucial because it forces the paper deep into those engraved ink grooves, creating money's famous raised sandpaper-like texture that you can actually feel with your fingertips. And this brilliantly illustrates how U.S. currency operates almost like a piece of high-tech spy gear. Just look at the redesigned $100 note. It features this blue 3D security ribbon where tiny images of bells miraculously shift into the number 100 as you tilt the bill. And the wild part? That ribbon isn't printed on the bill, it's physically woven straight into the paper. Plus, you've got a bell in an inkwell printed with color-shifting ink that changes from copper to green. You've got faint watermarks built right into the paper's density, and security threads that glow bright pink under ultraviolet light. With all these insanely complex layers, the Bureau of Engraving and Printing enforces a strict zero-tolerance policy for errors. They use what's called an offline currency inspection system that scans every single sheet, analyzing millions of pixels in a fraction of a second. If there is a misaligned digit, a tiny ink smudge, or even a microscopic blemish, that entire sheet is rejected, sent to an industrial grinder, and literally shredded into confetti. Only absolute 100% perfection makes it out the door. So, how does this perfectly engineered piece of physical money actually get into your hands? Well, it navigates a pretty strict logistical hurdle. the Federal Reserve constantly monitors the macroeconomy, analyzing demand and calculating exactly how much old currency is being destroyed. Based on that data, they place an annual order. The Bureau prints it, and then heavily armored trucks transport these millions of notes to Federal Reserve Bank cash offices. From there, they distribute them to the commercial banks, credit unions, and ATMs where you finally withdraw them. Now, what's really interesting here is the stark contrast in how long these different denominations actually survive out there in the wild. Notice how a $1 bill takes an absolute daily beating. I mean, it's shoved in pockets, crumpled up in vending machines, and handed out as change constantly. Because of that, its estimated lifespan is just over 7 years. But consider the $100 bill. That lasts an estimated 24 years. People generally don't crumple up hundreds, right? They treat them like royalty, handling them carefully and often using them as a store of value rather than for buying a daily cup of coffee. Okay, but for all this incredible physical engineering, we have to pull the rug out for a second and acknowledge the reality of the modern economy. Physical cash makes up only a tiny, tiny fraction of the total money supply. As we pivot to the other side of money's dual nature, it's fascinating and maybe a little mind-bending to consider that the vast, overwhelming majority of modern money isn't printed at all. So the crucial point we need to get to is that while traditional textbooks often describe banks as basically just intermediaries, the old piggy bank myth, where they simply lend out the deposits you and I save with them, the reality of modern banking is far more dynamic. Commercial banks don't just move existing money around. In reality, commercial bank lending actively creates brand new deposits entirely out of thin air. And look, this isn't some fringe theory. To codify this massive paradigm shift, the Bank of England, which is literally one of the oldest and most respected central banks on the planet, released an authoritative report explicitly detailing this very mechanism. The report clarifies a crucial aspect of the financial system. Central bank reserves don't actually drive money creation. Instead, everyday commercial banks do. Just let this exact quote from the Bank of England sink in for a second. Whenever a bank makes a loan, it simultaneously creates a matching deposit in the borrower's bank account, thereby creating new money. When a bank issues a mortgage for a house or a loan for a new business, the bank manager isn't going down to a physical vault to grab bundles of printed cash. No way. They simply sit at a computer, type a digital entry into a ledger, and boom, new money is instantly born into the economy. The contrast here is incredibly bizarre and deeply fascinating. On the one hand, to create a single physical $100 note, we require a decade of intense human craftsmanship, massive 20-ton printing presses, complex cotton and linen blends, and rigorous pixel-by-pixel laser inspections. But on the other hand, a commercial bank can instantaneously create millions of dollars with a literal digital keystroke on a computer. It's an absolutely striking duality. So what does this all mean? Well, it brings us to one ultimate question to leave you with. Whether it's a heavily engineered, brilliantly designed piece of linen, blending green ink and security ribbons, or an entirely abstract digital entry typed into a bank's computer system, money itself actually has no inherent worth. It works simply because we all collectively agree that it does. So, does money's true value lie in the incredible physical craft we've explored today, or simply in our unwavering trust in the system? Think about that the next time you tap your card or hand over a crisp bill. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning how the world around you actually works.